I'm on YouTube constantly. I went through so many different videos, did so many different people, different stories, and then I came upon one of your video, but I felt a little hope. I felt that hope that I
Yeah.
haven't felt in a long time, and I'll never forget that feeling, Jordan. I saw it, and I was just like, oh my gosh! I was like, oh, it was so dark. It was so dark, and it was just like, yeah, sorry, man. It was really dark, and so. And it's funny because now I watch movies and I cry now when I never did, even before. So I have these emotions that are so beautiful that we get to feel, and it's yeah. So just give me 1 second if you don't mind.
So no more health anxiety,
No more health anxiety. No, sir.
no more existential thoughts and obsession.
I try to think of the same thoughts I had, and they do nothing to me.
Yeah.
It's completely gone
So no more DPDR.
at all. Zero.
Okay. And no more generalized anxiety.
All
I
healed
mean,
up.
so a couple weeks ago, I got an email from one of my former clients. He said, Jordan, I wanted to write to thank you because I am now symptom free of generalized anxiety, health anxiety, existential obsession, rumination, depersonalization, realization, as well as panic attacks. And he says, I've been recovered for a couple years and I forgot to reach out to you to let you know. And he kind of told me a little bit about his story. And I responded back and I was like, this is such a powerful story. Like, first of all, thank you for, letting me know about this. But secondly, I would love to sit down and do an interview with you. And he did do the interview and you're about to see it. And my gosh, when you hear this story, you are going to be full of so much hope. I had no idea how much that he suffered and struggled. Okay. I knew obviously a little bit about it. But I heard details that he never shared with me whenever we were working together. And the things that this guy went through, and then to see his life now being symptom free of these things and reigning in life, it's the ultimate story of post traumatic growth. Okay. So, with that being said, click like, help me get this story out in the YouTube algorithm to promote hope and inspiration to show people that they can beat this too. Comment something as well. That'll also help the algorithm get this message out there. Subscribe if you are struggling with any of these symptoms and enjoy this amazing, amazing story. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you. I'm very much looking forward to hearing more about your journey. You had reached out to me, was it a couple weeks ago? And you were like, "Hey, I never really had a chance to properly thank you. You sent me a really amazing email, kind of going over, just your life now, after symptoms." And I was like, you know what? It'd be awesome if we could jump on a call, just to talk about this in front of people because your story is so inspiring, and I really appreciate you making time. I know that you have a lot on your plate, and I'm really honored that you are going to talk about this because you are literally the definition of post-traumatic growth. I mean, to go from all the symptoms that you had to the life that you're living now just speaks to the possibility, the innate, I should say, the innate capacity that is within all people, that I'm trying to show them that it's there. So many people think that they're hopeless. They think that, they're broken. They think that they're the exception. And the more stories that people can hear of people who had those same fears, but they came out of it, the more hope that that's going to instill in them. So I can't wait to hear the story. I mean, man, I mean, we haven't worked together it's been how many years now?
It's been, I want to say about three and a
3
half
years.
years. Yeah, it's been a
Okay.
while. It's been a while, Jordan.
So I remember you obviously. We connected a lot. And the more that we talk, I'm probably going to start remembering more about your story. But as of right now, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people since then. Probably, well, I mean, God knows, probably well over 1,000, maybe even
Yeah.
2,000 since then. And so I really need to get an update. So let's go back to before you started working with me, okay? I want you to kind of paint a picture of what your life was like, as well as the symptoms that you were going through.
Yeah, yeah. So this happened in 2019. Um, I was not healthy. I was eating very uh horribly. I wasn't eating very well. I weighed close to 400 pounds at that time.
Okay.
I was working two jobs. Just had my daughter, so we had two children, me and my wife. And it after I got out of work, we would go and put on TV, watch it 2, 3 in the morning. I'd wake up at 6, maybe 7 o'clock. And so I was just burning out my body, and I was eating horribly. I was living off of coffee, and I've always had this positive attitude that, everything's going to be okay. And just one day, actually it was May 6th, 2019. I woke up and I felt nothing. I felt completely numb, and I had no idea what was going on. It was a terrifying feeling to not feel, to not know, what feeling you have, no emotions whatsoever. It was very scary. And I didn't say anything to anybody. I didn't tell my wife. I kept it to myself. Um, it was a very alien feeling. I felt like I was just completely out of body experience, and it's very hard to explain. And I know, we've all tried to explain it as best as possible, but I was an alien. I was just not myself. And, it lasted, quite a long time, but, just at that moment, I didn't know what was going on. And I want to say symptoms started kind of just stacking up on top of each other. It was a numbness that did last for quite a while, 2, 3 years, where I had no emotions, or just I didn't feel the emotions. Not that I didn't have emotions. It's just they were just numb. And what was scary about it was I was alone. I didn't know what they were. I didn't know who to look for. I jumped online. I couldn't find anything that that was that I can say like, oh, this is what it is. So I went about my day, just in this funk of I don't know what's going on, but I'll just let it pass. I
Okay.
don't know what's happening. So the symptoms started to change. They started to be, I started to have existential thoughts, and those literally feel like all gravity has been just removed, and I can't grasp onto anything. I feel like I'm floating away. It was honestly one of the worst feelings I've ever had.
Oh yeah.
Those existential thoughts are something I would never ever put on my worst enemy, because they're just thoughts that don't go away.
Yes.
And
I dealt with that same thing.
yeah,
Constant existential thoughts and fears that these certain theories were true. And the moment that I would get this existential thought, I would have extreme DPDR. It was horrible. But go on.
yes, yeah. So and it got to the point where I ended up getting Bell's palsy, and I think, yeah, I think I had told you about that one time. So I got Bell's palsy. My whole face was just, just still. It lasted about 3 to 4 months. And my parents, I would talk to my parents. They couldn't, they didn't know what was going on, so they couldn't really help too much. My wife, I did bring it up to her, and I started to seek therapy. A therapist that was close by to us, and it just it was nice talking to somebody, and he had no
Sure.
idea what was going on. He had no education on it whatsoever. So, he didn't know. He's like, oh, maybe you're depressed. Maybe, you're just doing too much. There's no straightforward answer.
Sure.
And so the feeling of being alone was so immense, and just with my kids, that was one of the hardest things, is holding on to my kids and them trying to, like, dad, like, where's dad? Like, they're looking at me kind of like, where's this person that used to just play with me, laugh with me, like,
Yeah.
where is
Uh,
he?
that's
Yeah,
that cuts the deepest, man. I'm a
yeah,
father myself, and just ugh, whenever you feel
yeah,
like you can't be there for your kids, I mean, that's the worst.
yeah, it definitely is. And it got to the point where, and it was very frustrating, because it's like you're emotionless, but at the same time you have these spikes of anger, and then I would just start crying all of a sudden. I had no idea what was going on. It was just up and down everywhere. I remember these things because I don't revisit them. I don't look back on them, often. But when I do, it's just like, because and I'll continue with the symptoms. So
Yeah, yeah, continue. So what were some
yeah,
other
so
symptoms that you
yeah,
experienced?
so I mean, it didn't all happen at once. It was almost like if there was a new thing weekly or almost daily, it felt like, it always felt like Jumanji, kind of like, they're going through these things and it's like, okay, here, what's the next thing that's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen next. And it felt like every day was something worse, and I want to say I went through just about everything that's on the list except for the static, with the vision, where you see kind of the vision part. I saw floaters and stuff, but as far as like the static, that's the only thing I can say I didn't go through. But I started to get chronic migraines, chronic nosebleeds, and heart palpitations started, and then that's when the health anxiety started.
Mhm.
And so it all linked up together. I know it all has to go hand in hand with each other. So,
What were
the
some of
note.
the what were some of the fears that were health related?
So heart palpitations come hand in hand with I'm having a heart attack.
Yep.
I'm having a heart attack or my heart's about to stop. If it starts to slow down, there's days where my heart rate was at 50 and I was like, let me do some jumping jacks because that is way too low. I'm not just, those things you think about, or my heart rate's at 90 and I was constantly checking my blood pressure. Um, I had my own blood pressure machine. My wife hid it from me. She's like, okay, that's too much. I love you, but you need to calm down. She would go to sleep and then I would go to Walgreens or, just,
Yep.
and I would figure somehow, some way to just, I was just constantly checking my pulse.
Yep.
I would stretch and I'd put my hand right here on my neck to check my pulse. And then I'd pretend I'm cracking my neck just to check my pulse. And it's just, I just that way people didn't see what you were doing. My wife would catch me and she's like, "Hey, it's okay. Everything's okay. Everything's okay." And it's just like, yeah, but no, my heart might stop. It's just all these thoughts that you had at that time where they're just it's not going to happen, just so
And
I, I'm sorry.
well, just to add a little bit to that from my side of things, I bet that probably made you feel quite emasculated as well, because it's like, man, my wife is having to be the one to kind of calm me down from all this. And then number two, I mean, you probably heard me talk about this. I mean, I had severe, severe health anxiety, but a fear of a heart attack was the number one.
Yeah.
And the way that it started is one summer, this would have been like maybe 2009. It was a really hot summer. And all of a sudden, I started to feel my heart palpitate. And so to get away from that feeling, I would toss and turn constantly. And so I kind of developed this threat association over I understand this now,
Yeah.
but I started to condition my brain through neuroplasticity that it's not safe to feel my heartbeat. And so my whole life was me trying to get away from my heartbeat, but then ironically, I was afraid my heart was going to stop, so I needed that reassurance that it was still beating. So if I couldn't feel it, it made me anxious, and then if I
Yeah.
could feel it, it made me anxious. And so what I would do is I would put my fingers on my neck and I would let it beat one time. And then, but I hated that feeling of the space between heartbeats. Okay. Because it seemed like it was stopping. And so I
Yeah.
would feel it for one beat. Okay, it's still beating. Then I pull my fingers away. And then if I tried to keep my finger on my neck to feel it, because I wanted to just be okay with feeling my heart because I hated that feeling, I would tense up, it would make my heartbeat faster. And then that would terrify me that it's hard to explain, but I didn't like the idea that I couldn't just put my fingers on my heart and it stay the same beat. I didn't like that I could kind of control my heartbeat. It made
Yeah.
me very uncomfortable. And I was like, oh gosh, like what if I speed it up too fast and then it stops? And um, I literally uh got to the point where I would want to take uh my blood pressure because I wanted to get that reassurance that my heart or sorry that my blood pressure was good. But then the moment that I would put that cuff on me And, like let's say it's an at-home
Yeah.
one, and I would feel that pressure, guess what would start happening? I would
Heart
literally
rate would
start
go
to
up.
feel my heart pounding, and then I would hit the release valve. Or if I could stick it out, I would start moving and jittering, and then my blood pressure was through the roof, and then that stressed me out. And I remember going to Walmart all the time, and my dad would sit down in the little thing, if you've ever seen it. It's like a little station near
Yeah.
the pharmacy, and it had a red button and a green button. You press the green button, you sit there just calm as you can be, and the drrrr, and like, okay. And then, all right, Jordan, you sit down. And I'd put my arm in there and I'd hit the green button, and I just felt the anxiety just washing over me. And I'm like, oh. And as soon as I would feel my heartbeat pounding, I would hit the red button. And I felt like such a failure, man. I
Yeah.
felt so weak. Like I can't even sit there and take my blood pressure. And it was really nerve-wracking not knowing if my blood pressure was good, because I thought I had heart issues. So it's like I wanted that reassurance through the blood pressure checker, but I couldn't get it. And
Yeah.
so whenever I would constantly check my pulse, like just like you, like I didn't want anybody to see it because I didn't want to come off as weak. And I remember one time my mom, saw me doing it, and I had my finger on there, and she was like, "What's wrong, Jordan? Are you anxious?" And I was like,
Mm.
"No, I'm fine. Like there's nothing wrong with me." And it was so embarrassing to have my mom, seeing that. So fear of a heart attack, was there any other fears connected to your health?
Yeah. So, you know, I have my family. So, when it's hereditary heart disease, cancer, we pretty much hit the lotto for that. So, everybody that has passed, I'm associating myself with that, and I'm thinking like, oh, you know what, that's going to happen to me, so all those things that happen to them. So of course the fear of cancer kicked in.
Sure.
The fear of a stroke also kicked in. That one was probably worse than the heart attack, to be honest with you. I was constantly, when the Bell's palsy hit, I wasn't going through health anxiety yet. If I did, I don't know what I would do, because that was terrifying alone, right?
Sure.
But I the fear of stroke was very strong. It was probably one of the worst thoughts that would go into my head, and it was just very constant, to the point where walking to the restroom, here at work, if I got up to go to the restroom, I mean, your heart's gonna start beating faster when you're doing any exertion whatsoever, right? So I would walk very slowly, to whatever I'm doing, and I'm just, I'm there, and that lasted like 2 years. And with my kids, I'm 6'5" at the time. I was like I said, like 397. I was a big guy. um I'm just this massive guy, and I'm just look terrified. I look terrified to do anything. And so I like, you're saying it right. How did you feel as a husband, as a man? I didn't feel like one. I felt like, embarrassed that, and I would talk to my wife and tell her, and it was frustrating because I didn't want to lose my family, but at the same time, I told her, hey, you need to do whatever you need to do, because I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything positive for you guys. I got to the lowest point where, I would look at my kids and I felt bad for them. I felt bad that I wasn't a father, and I would see my friends that are dads, or, just a random stranger, pick up their kids or running with their kids. And I'm like, I can't do that. I'm going to have a heart attack if I do that, So, and I know you went, through the same thing with the heart, issues and stuff. And I don't know if you were a father at that time, but, you know, and my kids were too young to see it, thank God right now. They're old enough and they're very intelligent to, if it would happen now, they would be more observant towards it, and they would notice it a lot more. But at that time, they were just kids. My daughter was 3 and my son was 5. So, it happened at the right time. That's why I try to think of it, that they don't remember that. They don't remember all those things. So,
That's a blessing for
yeah,
sure.
it is, and the only thing that is, I felt like it took away the time with my kids, but I'm able to look at pictures and I don't remember them, to be honest with you. But I can look at those pictures and I was like, okay, I was there. I was there. I was present. I was going through hell, but I was there.
Yep.
So pat on my back whenever I see those photos. It's like, good job. Yeah, I know. He's like, you
Didn't
didn't know
quit.
what was going on.
Yeah, and you don't know what you don't know, right? It's
Yeah.
not like you asked for any of that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And another thing too, just to talk about some irrational fears, like I had the fear of cancer, and like any lump or bump, like my aunt's a doctor, and so I would always call her up on the phone and be like, "Can I
Yeah.
send you a picture of this?" And of course, I got reassurance for me feeling like I was having a heart attack because I was having panic attacks. Um, I used to have like 20 panic attacks a day, and I would call her up for reassurance, and she
Mm.
would be like, "Jordan, here are the signs of or here are the signs of a heart attack, and it doesn't seem like that's what you're going through. But if you're concerned, go to the ER and stuff." And I was
Yeah.
actually terrified to go to the doctor because I thought that they were going to do some test and confirm that I had cancer or heart issues. Some people, with health anxiety, which I have a number of clients that deal with health anxiety, and I have a framework to overcome that. And actually, my mom had health anxiety for like 30 years. And
I remember that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And she went through my program, didn't even tell me that she was basically applying all these things. Because, she works for me, she's on
Mhm.
my team. And she was showing up to the meetings just to kind of support everybody. And she actually called me up one day and said, Jordan, like I actually was able to travel to your brother's house, which he lived in like the middle of nowhere. For the first time in like 30 years, I was able to go a certain distance away from a hospital without worrying that I was going to have some sort of health issue. And I remember
Yeah.
growing up, EMTs coming into the house and seeing an ambulance pull up and wonder if my mom's dying. And she always had to have these medications. We called them her pee pills because they reeked of urine, trying to help her with her anxiety. Um,
Wow.
so I think it was probably, it's kind of like the whole nature nurture type thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I'm sure some of it was genetic, but I definitely observed that. But anyway, but I was gonna say I had a fear of cancer, and I would be on Google Images, like looking at, like I would take a picture of this bump, and then I'd see these horrible images that were just like seemed like they were trying to scare me. And Mayo Clinic and WebMD and all these medical websites made me convinced that I was dying. But
Yeah.
another thing too is the fear. Oh yeah, there's a sign that literally was like this Cancer Institute sign that I used to drive by, and just seeing the word cancer would send me into a full panic attack. That is how afraid of cancer that I was. And then also I had a fear that my first panic attack was an epileptic seizure, right?
Oh yeah.
So I was like, oh gosh, like what if I have another, episode, or what if I'm developing epilepsy? And like, dude, the fears. And then of course the fear of psychosis. I was literally convinced that I was going crazy.
Oh
And
yeah.
I have a family member that sadly he got mercury poisoning, and he would talk to himself and do all kind of these crazy things. And I was like, that's me, right? I'm never going to be able to
Yeah.
get married, never going to be able to have kids. Like, my life is over. It felt so real. It was so thick. Like, nobody could have told me any different. And obviously, it wasn't true. But anyway, I just want to say, like, I know how all that stuff feels, especially the heartbeat phobia, man. That was the
Yeah.
bane of my existence,
Yeah.
was my heart, right? And
Yeah.
so go ahead, continue on. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so I mean it's I'm just trying to paint the picture as much as possible. And as I'm talking, I'm starting, to remember. So, it got to the point where and I never told my wife this, but so we live here in Texas, and going to the island to the beach, it's about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes to get there. And just to take a trip, I would have to write down everywhere their hospitals, just to, so I would track all the hospitals, know exactly where they're at, know how many miles they were. I would go drive before we would go on a trip together because my fear was I'm driving. If something happens to me, like I have to be ready for my kids, I have to, I was planning ahead on something that wasn't going to happen. But in my head, like you said, you believe it so much, it's thick, it's there, it's almost like you can see it happening very clear, like, oh, this is going to happen. So I would map it out, all the hospitals. The island didn't have a hospital, so that was very difficult to get to. So, you know, I know I went to the hospital maybe 10 times, and the hospital bill was, even with insurance, it doesn't matter, but
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
yeah, and I would go to different hospitals, and because I didn't want the same doctor to be like, "Oh, this guy again." Like, yeah, so it's
Yeah.
embarrassing,
Very,
it's
oh, I hear that from
yeah,
my clients all the time. Like they
yeah,
know them by name whenever they go to them.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
So
okay, yeah.
so one of the
Yeah.
doctors at one hospital I went to, they were so patient and kind, and I was like, "Oh, this is the hospital I want to go to." And then I started to think about it, like, no, I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want. So on the 10th time getting out of the hospital, I get there, my wife was watering the grass, and I got there and I didn't tell her I had gone. And I left the band. Usually I would cut it off to keep it from her. And she maybe knows about maybe three, four of them tops. And because I would call her and say, "Goodbye, I'm about to have a heart attack. I'm dying right now. I love you. Tell the kids I love them. I love,
Oh,
just bawling because it was just like." And the first two times she believed it, like, "Oh my God, like where are you?" Just, and then the second and third and fourth time she was kind of like, "Nothing's happening. You're like, you're okay." And so the 10th time I got back, I got to the house, she's outside, and I'm just there, like just looking down, bawling, and I'm just like, and she goes to the truck, she opens the door and she sees the band, and then she had some snippets there. She was cutting some branches and stuff, and she cuts it off, and she's like, "This is gonna be the last time." She's like, "You need to stop this. You need to move forward." And I was just like, I know. I know. I don't want to be doing this. And it's just I felt defeated at that point, and she was very patient. I owe my wife
oh my goodness.
everything because, she not only did she stay with me, but there was no judgment there. I saw the frustration in her eyes. She's human, she's gonna be frustrated,
Sure, absolutely.
but she stuck with me. She was there the whole time, and she had my back, and so I owe a lot to her. So
Oh my
you, you
gosh,
know
yes.
and and it's funny because there's so many stories I can tell, so many things that happened. One of the worst ones was my blood pressure. I had taken it, it was very high. I was anxious, not because it was high, it's just anxiety.
Sure.
So I also had a very massive headache. I got in the shower, I took some Excedrin, and then I started to have a massive nosebleed, and it was just, and then I sneezed when the nosebleed happened, so it was just like everywhere. The blood was everywhere. My health anxiety was like, "Oh, you just had a stroke. Your brain just popped." And I'm just like, "Oh, okay, okay." Like, what do I
Oh
do?
my
So it
gosh.
was that happened. And then a week later, my best friend passed away from just natural causes. And so when my grandmother did too, about a month later, I'm sorry. So it was
Oh,
just back to back. Everything was just hitting. I was already at such a low point, and I
can I
didn't
stop you
know.
for a second?
Yeah, please.
You know the story of David Goggins, right?
Yeah, yes. So I mean,
This,
I've heard of stories, but what specific one are you talking about?
well, just like his whole story. I mean, like, this is like such, I mean, it's like a movie. It's like
Yeah,
some guy that's like going through just so much hell.
yeah,
I mean, my gosh. I mean, and for those of you who are listening to this, I didn't know 95% of this stuff.
yeah,
Like this is just because whenever
yeah,
somebody starts to work with me, we definitely talk about what led up to it and things like that. But, you know, I've never heard most of this stuff before. And I am truly just so happy that you're standing here today. And I can't wait to get to that part. But I just want to hang on because I want people to be able to identify with this if they're going through this
yeah.
so they know that they're not alone and there's hope. So that
Definitely
happened.
hope.
And how much, so your wife told you, like, enough is enough, you know, what happened at that point? Did you start, and this was after you met with the therapist too, right?
Yeah, yeah. This is after I met with the therapist. That was way after. I only did one session, and I got to the point where I was like, "This is not going to help." It's just and at that time, financially, we weren't doing so hot. To be honest with you, I had to let go, of course, the second job I had. I started to learn how to rest. Because I grew up in a family where we're Hispanic, so I mean, our culture is we got to work, we got to put food on the table, we got to go. We got to move. So, rest hasn't really ever been part of, part of my life, just knowing how to relax. So at that point when my wife said, "Hey, let's, this has to stop. There has
Yeah.
to be something that you're going to do." And I'm explaining to her, I'm trying to look up something. I'm trying to find something, and I can't find anything. I can't find anything. And you don't mind me, bringing up how I found you? Is that we're at that point,
Sure.
or
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. 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 So
So,
go ahead.
so I was sitting outside of a McDonald's. I went to go pick up lunch. At that time, I was eating McDonald's. I just
Good healthy meal,
yeah,
right?
good old healthy food, Mickey D's, and so I'm sitting on the parking lot and I'm eating and I'm bawling because I don't know what to do. I'm not even hungry. I'm just frustrated. I just and I'm sitting there and then I'm on YouTube constantly. I went through so many different videos, to so many different people, different stories, and then I came upon one of your video on existential crisis. And I think there's like planets around it or something, and I
I
saw
know
that
that
video.
video.
Yeah. So I found that video. I started to watch it, put my food down, I wrapped it up, I sat up and I'm just like, okay, hold on. There's something that that seems similar to what I'm going through. And then it was just almost word for word verbatim, just everything. And then I saw that you had a website. I jumped on your website and then I started to cry out of just like it felt like a safety net. I felt like I was just falling and falling and falling to safety net. Jordan Hardgrave. I that was the first time in about a year and a half, more or less. And it's hard to remember all the dates and times and everything, but it had been a long time. That I got the safety net. I found you. I started to look at your website and it had, do you have all of these symptoms? And it's just lined up in a row. And I'm like, yes, 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 yes. I found him. I found him. I called my wife and I told her I found somebody. I found somebody to help me. And, just I'm gonna do it. So, I sent you an email. I saw that you had a few spaces open and so I did join, or I did send you a message, and I think you responded like 2 or 3 days later. Those 2 or 3 days later, I felt, I mean, obviously, I still had the symptoms. I still felt, all those things. I was still checking my blood pressure and everything, but I felt a little hope. I felt that hope that I
Yeah.
haven't felt in a long time. And I'll never forget that feeling, Jordan. I saw it and I was just like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh, it was so dark. It was so dark, and it was just like yeah, sorry, man. It was really dark. And so and it's funny because now I watch movies and I cry now and I never did, even before. So I have these emotions that are so beautiful that we get to feel, and it's yeah, so just give me 1 second if you don't mind.
No, you're good, man. Yeah, you're making me emotional, man. It's so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. So, it's just, the everybody that's going through this, yeah, my gosh, it is bad. It's hard. It's very hard and so it's just so amazing that I was able to find you and uh and
So
work
we
with you.
so we
Yeah.
started working together.
Yeah. We started to
And let-
work together
Yep. And
through
let's
Rise and
Yep.
and when we started work together, it was just the way you would break everything down, the way you explained everything was just so, it was just it made sense. It made sense because everything that's going on in your brain, you don't know what to believe, what to go, and you came off as genuine, you came off as caring, and it's just like, okay, I'm in good hands. I'm in good hands. I talked to my wife, and then it got to the point where she's like, "I'm happy you found him. Good." She's like, "But you talk about Jordan so much." It's like, yeah, like it's a good thing. She's like, "But just," she's like, "Keep on doing it." She's like, "But just let's and she saw the difference, almost immediately. It's just this shell of a husband that she had. It's just I was just an entity in their lives at that point. I was just going through it, and there was a little glimmer of hope there, and it had its ups and downs. It was never
Oh yeah.
consistent. It was never, all the way up. It was up and down, even to a point where it felt even worse at one point, even after finding you. And that's the
Oh
thing
yeah. That
about
happened.
this.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, just the symptoms, they stayed for a while. It's not a quick fix, and it wasn't just something that happened overnight. It happened over time. And when it got to that point, that my body, my brain, everything was just like, okay, you know what? Let me help you out, it's helping us out. We don't know it's helping us out, but it's helping us out. And yeah,
So
so
let's let if you can remember this. I mean, do you remember the like so you had the initial glimmer after you started working with me where you kind of had that glimmer of hope. But do you remember the first major glimmer of feeling normal where you were like, "Oh my gosh, like this actually is changing my nervous system?" Or would you say it was just very kind of slow and progressive, or there wasn't like necessarily like a moment of like huge, feeling normal? Or
yeah.
do you remember that moment?
And I'm gonna be very straightforward with you. All the tools you gave us, I didn't use them right away. Uh, I was in a position where I'm already very I'm everywhere. I know as far as like and I'm trying to think of the word here. Well, I'll move forward from here. But anyway, so I wasn't doing everything you were supposed to. I was doing it, but not consistently.
Yep.
I was just so happy in my own way, the way I was feeling for maybe about 6 months, where I was like, okay, I found somebody that's gonna help me. This is gonna work. I would be back and forth, like, oh, maybe it isn't. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm that one person that this isn't gonna help. So I was
Yep.
kind of back and forth, and I didn't put. If I had gone and done everything you told us to do, and just everything that you were teaching us was, hey, do this, and if I did it right away, I'm sure I would have gotten out a lot quicker. But I didn't do it. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you.
That's okay.
So,
That's
uh,
normal. Yeah, I
I
mean, it's
would,
hard. That's what I
yeah,
tell people. Like, even whenever you have the things that you need to do, the body-based tools, the lifestyle adjustments you need to make, you've gotten the right information as far as the neuroscience to detach fear, shame from symptoms. You know how to desensitize your sensory, somatic, and symptom triggers. You've got the co-regulation that you need. Like I always say, like you still have to override human nature, which is inherently lazy. That's why since you've worked with me, by the way, I've really started to teach habit theory, and I've started to make sure that I teach a lot of tools that I've learned from some of the top trauma experts in the world about how to get people to be more consistent. Um,
wow,
oh yeah, I mean, compared to whenever you work with me, I mean, it's just like night and day. And not that it wasn't effective back then,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm saying I'm always making things better. But that is the challenge, right?
yeah,
And not only are you battling against human nature, but you feel like death. You feel
yeah,
horrible. And so you've got to get yourself to do things that you don't naturally want to do. And you're having to face your body again, which is a war zone. You're having to face the things in your life that you've been avoiding.
yeah,
And it is difficult, and that's why people need co-regulation. Not everybody has to have it, but I think most people need some people need a lot of co-regulation. It all depends on the person.
yeah,
But co-regulation precedes self-regulation, meaning it's like riding a bicycle. Okay, so co-regulation is a safe person that comes in who builds hope, builds a safe therapeutic relationship in your life where you kind of feel a sense of safety as you are learning how to regulate your nervous system, as you're learning how to live a life where you listen to your body. And so, anyway, yeah, it's like that's not just you. I mean, that's my clients all the time.
yeah,
It's hard to be consistent when you feel so terrible. But what's important is you kept going. And so let's talk about, like whenever you like, was there a moment where you finally gave it your all? Do you remember that moment?
I remember when I actually woke up one day and said, let's go. This is it. My kids were already growing up in front of me, and I was like, no, I need to be here. I need to do something about this. You already, it's already gotten to that point where, you're wasting time. You can get out of this. People are getting out of this, and so I was
Yeah.
hearing all these success stories from people, that we're talking about, and it was like, oh, I don't have one yet. I'm not trying. They're trying. I'm not. Like, I'm doing this to my kids, to my wife. That's not fair to them. So, and I, this is probably gonna, jog your memory here, but my biggest thing at that moment was a hill of dirt. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, there you
Okay.
go. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So, man,
Yeah,
I've been
yeah,
waiting to ask you about that, and
yeah,
I'm so glad you're going to talk about this because I was going to say towards the end, whenever I think of you, I think about some sort of like a sand pile or some. I was going to say
yeah,
sand. I don't know
It was
what it's
dirt.
related to. Okay, so what is this?
So my mother-in-law, as a gesture of kindness, ordered some dirt so that way I can level out our yard because we have carpet grass. I wasn't doing yard work because I couldn't push the lawnmower. Our grass was high, but she thought, let me get some dirt out there for him. Maybe he can go outside. She didn't know what I was going through. And so I got back from work one day and I just saw this pile of dirt and I'm like, what is that? And I was like, oh, and then she explained to me what it was for. So they're okay. So so I went and grabbed my shovel. I did about maybe two, and my heart was just racing at that point. Yeah,
Yes. And
yeah,
you ended up just doing it anyway and doing the exposure and the relaxation to desensitize
yes,
it, didn't you? You're
yes,
finally were like, enough is enough. I
yes,
remember that.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
This.
so I mean that little hill, and it's funny if I go on Google Maps and I can still see it there because it's like at that time 2020 whatever 2021. It's still there like in the photo, and it's just the smallest thing, but I remember it as being a massive like hill issue. In my head it was just, what should have taken maybe 2 hours to get rid of took me like 3 months.
Yes.
But I just did it. But and if you don't want me, saying this story, so I woke up one day, went outside. My son woke up. It was a Saturday morning. It was cold outside. And I was like, today's a day. I'm gonna go hit this, and my son was walking behind me, and I was like, oh, okay, well, he can come outside. That's fine. That way he can see daddy go home and tackle this. That way, he's out here with me. So back to the story, my hill, right? So went outside. My son's there with me. I went, put on my gloves, grabbed my shovel. Had a brand new shovel, and so I went and I started to. I did one hole. I felt my heart pounding. I just felt my head just pounding. I was like, it's okay. Just do this. And I was just so motivated at that time. And that was the first time I ever felt that motivation. And then some
So
guy
hold
just
on,
came. Yeah,
real quick. You used something called avoidance-based motivation because you were talking about my kids and wife don't deserve this. So the
yeah,
motive to avoid pushed you to do what you don't want to do.
yeah,
Yep. This is
yeah.
something that I teach my clients. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, so and I didn't know that's what it's called, but they
Yeah.
were honestly, there's everything, they pushed me, even to today they're still pushing me. I see them. I have my photos of my kids here in my office, and anyway, so I start tackling this. I'm about three in, and I'm like, I'm gonna do 20. I'm gonna do 20. I'm gonna do it. And then the guy starts coming on a bike, a little bicycle, and then he starts, and he's dressed just it's not too well, and he comes up to me and he's like, hey, I lost my pipe. Have you seen my pipe? And my son's behind me, and my whole thing is like, well, I need to protect my son. So I was like, sir, can you please leave? And he's like, well, help me find the pipe and then I'll leave. And then
Oh
at that
man.
moment I have this thought and I'm thinking like, God, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to get over this, and now I'm bringing up another situation. It was almost comical how it happened, and I mean, at that moment, obviously, it wasn't. So then he goes across the street, he finds it, and he's like, "Oh, is it because the cops were, trying to get me?" And I threw him, "Look, here it is." And I was like, "Sir, please leave. Thank you." And he took off.
Sure.
I went inside, took my son inside, and then I was like, "Okay, I'll try again later." And it was just like, yeah. And it got to the point where, like I said, it took me 3 months to get that dirt hill out. But I remember getting the final 10 scoops, putting it in the wheelbarrow, putting it, mind you, my heart's racing. And I look back at it and I stood there for like half an hour smiling, even though I didn't really feel too much emotions, but I was like, I'm gonna smile because I did this. I did this.
Yes.
This is mine. This is, I did this. And so, it turns out later my wife was helping me. I didn't know when I was at work. She was making it smaller and smaller, trying to help me out, right? And so, I mean,
Your wife gets the wife of the year award, by the way.
yeah, yeah, man. So,
She is
it's
amazing.
just,
Yep.
yeah, she is. So,
Let's shift to, you know, what is your life like now? Right? Like, I want you to tell us about, what it's like to not have these symptoms, right? Like, what are you up to? What is your daily experience like? And how does it feel to not have to deal with these symptoms anymore?
so I'll tell you this, once all the symptoms lift and you're clear and the anxiety's gone, the depersonalization, derealization's gone, all those symptoms are gone. There's a moment of clarity where everything's so bright, you can see colors, you can taste food, you feel, that was my biggest thing was I would hug my kids and I was like, oh, I feel love, I feel emotion, I feel, and I would cry and it's just like these are happy tears. They're not sad, and
Yes.
that was one of the biggest things, I mean, yeah, and I'll get to the accomplishments, everything that I'm doing right now, but the biggest thing, and I still look back at it is we take for granted these feelings that we have, that we
Yes.
we waste so much time being angry, so much time being frustrated with people when it's like there's so many other emotions that are way better than those emotions and I'm glad I went through this, Jordan. I'm very glad because there's a gratitude behind it that I'm happy to be where I'm at, and it's just it made me a stronger person, and more resilient. I learned that word from you. More resilient person, and it's just I'm excited. So what I'm doing now, I became a manager at the store that I'm at. Um, I was working for a narcissistic manager, and I remember you telling us, "Hey, if you're ever in those positions, you need to leave. You need to leave."
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was about to leave, they gave me his position, and
Okay.
they put him outside. So it was like, okay, thank you, that's good. And so I took care of the employees. I took care of them. I made sure that even today, I make sure that they're comfortable. And I never want to be that type of manager.
Yeah.
Man, it was bad. It was a very horrible situation. But so I manage a store. I'm already managing it for about 3.5 years now, 4 years. I started two businesses actually, and I'm making sure that I'm not doing too much, spending time with family. So I started a business growing microgreens. So during COVID, everybody started to find different things to do, and that was one of the things I picked up was growing microgreens. I got down to 212 pounds. I lost a lot of weight, eating plant-based at that time, and I felt really good. I felt really healthy. I was exercising and I'm exercising and it's just, it's good. It feels really good. So got my microgreens business going. I started a farmer's market as well. So talking in front of people, something I wasn't able to do at all, let alone just one person. Now I'm talking to a group of people and it's just, and while I'm talking, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I would not be able to do this, 4 years ago, just, and I still kind of do that. Like, yeah, I'm in a situation. I was not able to do this at one point. This is great. This is amazing. And, meeting with the city officials, I'm gonna join the Chamber of Commerce, with both businesses and talking to this group of people that, it's a large community. So it's just talking in front of these people. And I feel confident when I'm talking to them. So it's exciting, what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to help people on the health aspect. I know you really motivated me to help people. I've always been the type of person that wants to help people, so I thought, why not help health wise? So microgreens, they're 40 times more nutrient dense than your regular vegetables. Down here where I live, we're number one in diabetes. We're number one in heart disease, obesity. Also, we're number one. So I'm trying to do my part, trying to help out the community, and so that's my motivation right now, trying to help everybody out. So
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
I'm going.
And oh, that's an amazing cause. And we need a health revolution, a nutrition revolution. And what an
Yeah.
amazing thing that you're able to do that. And oh my gosh. So, so no more health anxiety,
No more health anxiety. No, sir.
no more existential thoughts and obsession.
I try to think of the same thoughts I had and they do nothing to me. So, I mean, it's,
Okay.
not that I'm trying to bring it back. I know I'm healed and
Just,
it's like,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And it's something that, no, it doesn't bother me at all anymore.
Yeah.
It's completely gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell my clients. Like, I can think about existence now from a place of curiosity and it doesn't bring that overwhelm. So no more DPDR.
at all. Zero.
Okay. And no more generalized anxiety.
All
I
healed
mean,
up.
yeah, and I mean, we all get stressed from time to time. I mean, that's just part of life, right? But there's a
Yeah.
difference between getting stressed from time to time and constantly being, anxious and overwhelmed and also you did have some panic attacks too at one point in time, is that correct? Or did you ever have those?
30, 40 panic attacks a day, constantly panic attacks. Here at work, I would get a towel full of water and put it in the freezer. I had about like 10, and that's the only thing that I felt like would calm me down, putting a wet towel on my head. And everybody here at work would look at me like, this guy's crazy.
Oh
So,
my.
yeah, constant panic attacks. They were just, and then at night was even worse because you can feel your heartbeat when you're laying down, and not being able to sleep also caused more symptoms. And it's just, it was just,
It's a
it's a
spiral,
vicious
yeah.
cycle that you go through, and it's just nonstop. But yeah, so I mean,
So
as far as anxiety being gone, the depression that comes with it, all that's gone. But the depersonalization, or not feeling feelings, once that, went away, I mean, that was the biggest thing for me. Not being able to feel, you don't feel human. You don't feel
yeah,
like you don't.
yeah, you feel like you're a separate entity from your own body. You feel like you said, an alien. Like you don't
Yeah,
feel at home in your own body. It's
yeah,
terrifying. It's absolutely,
yeah.
and there's barely any way to even describe it. And so, when's the last time you've had a panic attack?
Uh, I don't know. Maybe 2.5 years ago, and I don't even
Okay.
remember when it happened. So, you know, once you
That's
start
good.
to, yeah, it's good that you don't remember. It's
That's
a
good.
good thing. But once you start to feel your body and feel tension, like right now I feel tension in my thighs and I relax. There's
Yep.
things that you've taught, that I've learned, that
Self-regulation.
yeah, and I still use all these tools, or most of them, on a daily basis, not even knowing it. Sometimes it just becomes part of your life,
It's
where yeah, yeah. So I mean, and it was scary at one point where you said, oh, you're gonna have to do this, and it's something that we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to feel safe in our
sure.
bodies. We're supposed to feel relaxed. That tension's not supposed to be there. And so,
Yeah.
but my fear was like, oh, I'm gonna have to do this all the time. What? And it's just like, it's not a big deal. It's not. It's like you feel tension, you relax the tension. It's
Yeah,
pretty
and,
simple.
and if you feel emotion, you face your emotions. That was
Yeah,
another thing that you walked away with because a lot of
yeah,
people aren't raised that way, and they end up suppressing it, and then their body becomes a war zone because there's all these negative emotions that are trying to process, and they just keep stuffing it down.
yeah.
I do a lot of emotional work with my clients, and I myself had to do tons of emotional work. That's a whole other thing. But wow, so literally, you have been symptom free for 2.5 years now.
I mean, 100%, yeah, 2.5 years. Because I mean, it all kind of, as it came in slowly, it went away slowly. It wasn't just all like I woke up one day and it was gone. It was like,
Right. Yep.
you don't know when you're 100% until you just realize one day, like, oh my gosh, I haven't had a panic attack in like a month.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
so Graham, this guy that I just did an interview with recently, I mean, I think it was like a year, and he was so integrated into life and felt so normal that he didn't even really think about it anymore. And he was like, "Oh
yeah,
my gosh, I haven't had any symptoms in over a year." And that's whenever he reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, man, I just wanted to celebrate. Like, he's like a rock star. He just messaged me yesterday. He's about to do like the biggest venue he's ever done with his band. He just got promoted to like the VP of his company. It's a finance
that's
company.
awesome.
Just like dude, and just to hear like of your businesses and what you're doing for your community with the microgreens and just being able to be there for so like real quick, your wife, so what's she think? I've got to know, like, what's she think about this transformation?
I mean, she has a husband. She has a husband that's motivated to grow, build a business, together. I'm seeing her, and it's just like in a whole new light as far as the way she sees me, and that's very important. You want to feel like a man. You want to feel, like somebody that's contributing to your family. Raising your kids right and everything. And I'm not perfect. I got a lot of work, but what's
Hey,
great about it is that I realize that, and I'm trying to do things to fix those things, and that's very important, and that's something she sees. Um, and it's exciting. We don't talk about it much because it was very difficult,
Sure.
so I've been in a position where I've seen people have panic attacks, and I know how to just, you know, kind of help them through it, and I'm not trying to teach them anything. It's just at that moment you wanted somebody to help. I
Oh,
wanted somebody to help me constantly, and nobody could. So I'm like, okay,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, I've given so many people your information. It's crazy. I've posted and boasted about you because it's like, I mean, I wouldn't trust anybody else. Honestly, I've looked at many other videos, done a lot of research, and us that have been through this, and everybody else that has gone through this. I mean, you're constantly looking online for a solution. So you've scoured the whole internet trying to look for something, and it's, even when finding you, sometimes it was just like, oh, am I doing the right thing? And I got to the point where I had to tell myself, this is it. This is a person that's going to help you. You just got to do the work. First off, when I was deep into it and I would hear success stories, and trust me, I watched every success story there was, right? Every video you did, and I was just looking for that one sentence that was like, okay, this is gonna be it. This is gonna help me, and some type of security. So, those everybody that's going through this, I'm sorry you're going through this. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever go through, but once you get out, I promise you, it's gonna be amazing. And you're not alone in this. There's a lot of people that are going through it, and it's horrible. And I'm sorry that you're going through it, but as genuine, just Jordan is such a genuine person that, I mean, you can just tell right away he cares. And he comes off, and I'm glad that you said the whole ego thing, because you're not egotistic. You come off as, we're the same. We're human. We're going through this
Yeah.
situation. Let's go through it together. Let's get this done. And it's if you're watching this, and you've seen the videos with Jordan, and you're kind of thinking, should I not? At the end of the day, it's your choice, but I'm telling you that I get to live a life, and I honestly owe it all to Jordan. He's not telling me to tell everybody this. This is something I reached out to him. I reached out to him because I got through it. I got through this. I went through it, and I came out on the other side. I'm stronger. I'm happier. I'm a better dad. I'm a better son. Just a better person overall,
Husband.
because yeah, husband, definitely, definitely a better husband. And Jordan, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate everything you've done, everything that you're doing, and keep on doing it, man, because there's so many people out there that are going through it. And I I'll start crying again, man, but it's good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing because you get to feel these emotions as a man, and and I want to just let everybody know out there, let everybody know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I know it's dark, but you got to move forward and just do it. Everything that Jordan's teaching you, telling you, just do it. Just get up and do it, and that's just about it. Just that's it's so, the simplicity behind it, just talking about it. You used to talk about it, like that seems simple. It is simple, but to execute it is the difficult part.
And
And
that's why people need co-regulation so much
yeah, yeah,
because
but
there's so
you're
many ups and downs. Yep.
yeah, but the patience that you have, and you have a lot of patience doing this, because I feel like I asked you the same questions over and over and over, and it's just like you answered the same way, and you can see the passion. It never dimmed. I can see you right now. If anything, you look like you're more excited for this. People tend to just get bored of what they're doing, but you look like this is you, man. This is
Yeah. I'm
this is
more
something
driven
you
than
were
ever.
born for. Yeah,
Yeah,
you can
I
tell. I
this
could
is
see it.
this is part of my calling, man, is to
Yeah,
help people get out of this, like, and I'm
yeah.
nothing special. Every talent that I have, every gift that I have, it's all from God, and I'm just thankful to have played a role in people's lives and to hear your story. Like I'm having to hold back. It fills me with the most incredible joy. Thank you so much. Okay, Have an amazing day. This was the most amazing discussion. I am so honored that you took this time. This is going to encourage so many people,
I
and I
hope it
hope you have an
does.
amazing night. It will, I promise you. Okay. Thank you
You
so
too,
much.
Jordan. Take care,
Thank
buddy.
you.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. All right. Yes, sir.